Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning back in the Small Town Johnstown podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and my beautiful co-host,
Jenny.
and we're here with Evan from Yost Outdoor Services. How you doing today?
Pretty good in yourself.
Good. So, what got you into doing outdoor services and starting your own business? Do that.
So what kind of got me into was I was in high school, kind of starting off a little bit, wanted to make some extra cash from during the summer months. I would do lawn care for some people, cutting. I think I started off with cutting maybe 6 yards. I had 3 yards in my mom and dad's neighborhood, 3 yards over in my grandparents' neighborhood. I would go around with a push mower and just start cutting some yards. And then kind of along the times, I started accumulating equipment. Like I went and bought a trailer, I got a truck and everything. So I started expanding a little more and picking up more yards. Still not super far away, but they were still like kind of close to the area where I could go and say cut 2, 3 yards after school,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd be good. And I still had my weekends and stuff. So that was kind of one of the ways I started to get into it.
Mhm.
So I actually went to Tech. I started off at I was gonna just go to school for business afterwards, which I really didn't want to go to college and stuff.
What'd you do, Votech?
I went to school for heavy equipment operations
Oh,
and CDL training.
Oh, not the. I'm a CDL
Yeah,
licensed
yeah,
guy.
yeah. So I went to school for CDL and heavy equipment operating, and now for my company we do hardscaping, excavation work, lawn care, general landscaping, new installations. Basically, the best way I put it to a lot of people whenever they call up and ask, "Hey, we do this?" Yeah, we do anything that you could potentially think of that's outside, like pipe work, foundations, grading, all kinds of work anymore. So,
So, how did you learn to do the pipe work over time?
well, actually, it's funny you say that. My dad, I went around with him whenever I was a lot younger. My dad, he's been, like I said, he's been in construction for 40 plus years. And I would go on jobs. My dad's a plumber by trade and he just does HVAC. So being around all the pipe work and stuff like that, you kind of learned how to do the flows, get everything put together. So going to excavation school, it kind of was like, hey, we're gonna learn into pipe installations and doing drainage, having proper slopes and stuff, or getting below frost barriers I kind of knew the general idea of it.
Yeah.
Um, but with that being said, like I mainly learned a lot from my dad.
Mhm.
Like I said, he was a great mentor and teacher whenever it came to all the installation stuff. But you kind the best way to put it is there's a lot bigger differences in excavation pipe installation than there is in just your general plumbing. Uh, you have to have your proper slopes. You have to make sure that like underground your frost barriers, you have to use certain pieces of equipment or couplings and stuff that will last underground to what it could be above ground.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like how all these sewer lines are anymore. There's
Everyone loves the sewer line
Yeah,
project.
everyone loves the sewer line project. Like you have stuff that's underground that you have to use certain products to for underground compared to what is above ground.
Mm.
So that's kind of one of the best ways to put it. So
I don't know how you guys do the pipe work, being from Eastern Pennsylvania and living in Texas and living in Florida. It was a culture shock when we at my mom's house we built a fence for her, and when you dig in, there's the whatever rocks, the sleet rocks.
Hmm.
mm.
That is, you'd be surprised. They're pretty in there,
Oh yeah, yeah, you
we
run
didn't
into
have to
some
deal
decent
with that
size.
before. We're like, just
Yeah.
you ain't gonna. Oh, it's a small rock. Look, it's like a foot long. It's like, where's this coming
Oh yeah.
from?
The best way to put it is there's a lot more hidden treasures underneath the ground than what a lot of people think. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
there was a
yeah,
lot more than we thought it would be because we
yeah.
built a fence in Florida. So just drill in, put the thing, cement, and then
hmm
let it dry. Nah, this you had to dig more around it because you had these huge slabs of rock just in the ground, just
Yeah.
waiting
Uh,
to say hello.
oh, absolutely. And like that's the thing. Like you go to all these different areas, like around here in Johnstown,
Mhm.
you have all the different types of soil conditions. Like you have your topsoil, you have your uh, different types of soil, you have your clays and stuff. Like when you go and do the excavation, you have to watch for these types of soils, and you gotta kind of use it like to your knowledge, like, hey, this is a good base or
Mhm.
stuff, and like you can build on top of this, or you have to go farther. That's like whenever you dig for foundations, you have to put footers in or stuff along the lines like that. You got to keep a close eye on all your different types of soils, and like you said, how the rocks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rock in this area.
I learned that there
Yeah,
is a lot
yeah,
of rock in this
lot of
area.
rock in this area. So
So would you say that's the hardest part of the job, or what do you think your hardest project has been so far?
like hardest projects are around here. You got to kind of keep an eye on where water is. Like water can do, like a lot of people, they know water does a lot of damage,
Yeah.
and that's the best way. You gotta make sure your water is directed in the right areas. Like for retaining walls, that proper base and water is the number one reason walls fail. Like if you don't have a good basin and you don't have everything anchoring and stuff like that with water, you could have a retaining wall up, say put it in June, and come next June, it could be collapsed because water and the freezing points around here, it could destroy it in a matter of time. So you have to have proper drainage, you have to have proper bases, and just make sure that you have the correct anchoring and stuff on that.
Yeah.
So
I got you. So,
yeah.
being your business is more certain parts of the year, like
Mhm.
what's something that you do or somebody who wants to get into outdoor services do when the off season comes around?
There's a bunch of stuff that you could do. Like I personally I don't do snow removal for my company. I actually plow snow for PennDOT in the winter for
Busy
the
year
state.
this year for you.
Oh yeah, it was a real busy year. It was a long season. That's the best way to put it. But honestly, it was really, really enjoyable. But a good thing for like a lot of people to do, I would say get in. You could do some snow removal.
Hmm.
Um, Driveways is a good way to get into it if you'd really like to get start off in the snow industry. But other than that, like it's tough to say around here. Once the ground freezes, you really can't do a whole bunch. Like you can't
Yeah.
really do planning
Nope.
and stuff like that. Some people they have other businesses like
Yeah, like would you do anything with like the woods, maybe?
yeah,
The
you could
wood.
do stuff like that. Like some people start hauling businesses, like they
Okay.
do cleanups and stuff. You could do wood business or like say you want to just cut firewood. Some people, whenever they go and do storm cleanups or stuff like that in the landscaping side, maybe they'll keep the wood and split it for people to fuel houses
Yeah.
in the winter months. Like there is different things you can get into, but you gotta you gotta make sure you have enough to keep yourself rolling. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to get yourself into like a little bit of a bind. It's like, oh man, this like for instance, this winter was freezing cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People were going through coal, wood, gas, and stuff like that, like crazy. You gotta kind of gauge on, hey, is it gonna be a bad winter? Is it gonna be a good winter? You gotta make sure you have an abundance stockpiled
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
that you make sure that you will keep it up. Now you could also just say, hey, this is what I need, this is what I can sell it at, and make that profit and be like, hey, you're done. But then you have people like, oh, I need this, well, I don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
But then you kind of get into a pinch and it's like, hey, you might lose that business or
Yeah.
but and down the road, but kind of I know going to the state works for me. Now that I'm not saying I'm gonna be there all my life, but
It's just nice
yeah, it's
extra.
just a nice
You
little
don't have to have a
layback.
side hustle for your main
Yeah,
hustle.
exactly.
Manage two different things.
Yeah,
You
two
can kind of
different
focus
things.
on one
Mhm.
one trade versus trying to be
Yeah.
pro it all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Like the best way to put it is try to have a main focus point on what you want to
Yeah.
do and try to stick to that main focus point because once you like I've done it already. You try to expand yourself to a point like you want to get into a lot more
Yeah.
and you get a little more stressed out whenever it comes to that point like oh we can do concrete and stuff like that and then you also have like yeah it's nice you can do all this but like at the same time you'll have 15 jobs going on at one time it's like
Yeah.
oh where am I gonna be it's
You
like
just want to master one thing at a time
yeah
and not spread
yeah
yourself
Yeah.
too thin.
exactly
And you gotta make sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh you're fine you're good you're
You
good
gotta make sure you have enough employees to be able to do all those jobs
yeah
too. Because, like you
yeah
said, once it gets too hot, you start dropping people, and you
oh
gotta
yeah So
It's all collapsed on the
Yeah,
ground.
you have somebody that's used to cutting grass trying to build in a pipe real quick.
yeah. So it's actually I have my younger brother and one of my best friends. They were working for me last year, and I had a couple other guys. They were working along too. Um, like my younger brother and my best friend, they were really good at the landscaping side.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what to do. They'd go in, clean out stuff. Hey, they'd call me up. Hey, we're ready to put in the plants and stuff. Do you want to come up and take a look to make sure everything's proper? Once you find the good guys that can actually know all the knowledge of what you want done, you're kind of set there, and you want to keep them to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like when they're nothing against like you gotta teach the younger guys on how to do stuff, but like the best way that I would put it is start off with cutting grass. Like, hey,
Yeah.
get the fundamentals of cutting grass down.
And the
And
workflow of
yeah, the workflow. Because best way that I put it, I love cutting grass,
it.
but like when you start getting into the business of it, there's a lot more involved in it. Like, hey, make sure that everything looks clean and proper because
Yeah.
it's not just your yard, it's the homeowner's yard.
Yeah.
And say like garden beds and stuff, you want to make sure to keep all the clippings and stuff out of them because that could prevent weeds to grow in it. And you just want to keep a close eye, and then once you kind of get into that flow, you can go into like doing the mulching and stuff like that, and then going down, you get into the excavation side. Like that's how I kind of do it. I start off with the grass, and then they go to the general, like your general landscaping, your mulching and stuff, and then you get into a little bit farther of the landscaping, and then we'll do the excavation side class because you got to have your math skills, you got to know the slopings and stuff like that. So
Which you wouldn't typically think of. It's
yeah,
just,
that's like
mowing some grass. And
oh yeah, yeah.
dirt.
Yeah, like a lot of people, they just think, oh, you just come and cut a yard, and then or hey, you just throw a little bit of mulch down. Like, now you got to kind of go off of what the plants need. You got to go off of how, like, grass wise, yeah, it's pretty straightforward business. But like, whenever you get into the landscaping, you kind of got to watch. Oh yeah, too much mulch here could be, I'm not gonna say damaging, but like you could hurt the plants at the same time. You kind of want to give some spacing and stuff to it. So that's once you kind of, like I said, little baby steps is the best way to take it. So
Yeah. See, everybody, those math classes do come in handy when you start.
yeah,
I'm not gonna need to know the angle of a triceratops. You will.
yeah, yeah. But like honestly though, math skills are one of the biggest things that you need to have for the excavation world. Because you got to look at, you have, say, a slope over here that's, you say you're 5 feet over here, but where your discharge pipe is going to come out, you have like a 3 or 4 foot difference. Well, you got to try to figure out, you don't want all that flow coming down and then you're washing out all kinds of stuff because, well, like I said, water can be
Yeah,
one of the most damaging things in this area. So, yeah, math skills are a big thing to have. Well, but it comes with time. That's another thing. It just comes with time. So.
Yeah. I was gonna say, have you ever screwed up your math skills or made a mistake, or maybe you did your best and you had like a customer give you one of those 1-star reviews?
The Yelps.
Yeah, I wouldn't say big mess ups. I would say you kind of catch stuff. Like I'm one of those guys. I like to trial and error stuff before I go and do like
Somebody else's service.
yeah. So how do I want to put it? Like,
I kind of throwing this guy on the spot.
yeah.
There's been times when you sucked at your job.
Like the controversy.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't. The best way. Yeah, no one's perfect. Like, the best way to put it, like, if we're putting in a piece of pipe and you want to check to make sure the flow of the water is good, maybe I'll run some water down it to say,
Yeah.
is it settling somewhere along the pipe? Because if it settles somewhere or it has like the pipe comes apart underneath ground, you want to catch that before you cover everything up because hey, if it say you just cover everything up right away, you might be coming in and ripping that all back out under your own cost.
Yeah.
And so I always double check stuff before I go and finish it up, cover stuff up. Like that's like how big reason with a lot of these sewer lines, they do the pressure tests.
Yeah.
They don't want them to fail, and then hey, you're paying these guys to come back in again to do all this work all over again. So testing is one of the best things to do whenever you get into all your work. Like, make sure, hey, your bases are what they need to be, your compaction ratings are what you need them to be, your flow is everything correct. So, double check. Um, you'll get used to it. You'll know what to do then along the lines. But like when you start off, just double check.
Yeah.
It'll save you a lot of time and headaches down the road. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
So what's the best way that you keep up with your trucks and your machines? I'm sure things have broken down
Oh yeah. So
and worn down.
the best way, I mean, I'm fortunate I have a lot of family members that are knowledgeable in the auto mechanic side and
Yeah,
stuff like that and motor side. My father-in-law, he's very knowledgeable too.
yeah.
Um, so whenever something starts going haywire on it, it's like, hey, I'm a phone call away. Hey, do you know what's going on here? Like, what do I need to go about? And like I already blew up a motor on a mower already and stuff.
Yeah,
But like I was thankful, hey, it's under warranty. It was
yeah.
like I called the guy up and he's like, hey, yeah, we'll come and pick it up. And it's like
Mhm.
that's the one thing. Like warranty, if you buy newer equipment, you have the warranties. But like when you're starting off a business,
You
you're
ain't
not
buying
really
it.
gonna have the funds to go out and buy stuff. So
Mhm.
you'll teach yourself a lot. Like I've taught myself a lot on, hey, hey, say the water pump goes out on the truck or something and you just want to go and fix it. YouTube's my best friend
YouTube's a
whenever
lot
it
of people's
comes to
best
that.
friends.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've learned that.
like you can go on and say, "Hey, this is what it is," and that'll help you out in like the beginning. But like whenever you're into the future, like you're kind of running and hopping between jobs, you don't have that time,
Hmm.
that downtime. Like, hey, we need to take it somewhere immediately and get it fixed and repaired. That way, it's back out on the road.
Yeah, you see it for tomorrow.
Yeah, need it for tomorrow. So that's the best way to put it. Like, not if you have a little bit of knowledge in the mechanical side on how to repair stuff, that's great. But like at the same time, it's kind of nice to just have something like or somebody, hey, this is what's going on. I
Yeah,
need it fixed immediately. And if they can tell you and pinpoint it right away, you're
perfect.
good. You're perfect.
Yeah, me, I'm not a car guy. Open up the hood and be like, that's a piece that's broken. Yep.
But
It smells funny.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Why is it steaming?
Yeah.
yeah, but well, that's actually good though. You're looking at that stuff and you can kind of teach yourself along in the long runs
Yeah.
and figure it out yourself. So that's what really helped me. Like I try to figure something out on my own before I go to the next step. Like if I can fix it, I don't like to bother people. That's my biggest
Yeah.
thing. I hate bothering people.
I don't like to pay people to do things that I can fix
Yeah,
myself.
if you
So
can fix it yourself, that's the best way to go about it, and
Mhm.
just try to figure it out on your own. Because at the end of the day, you have a lot more pride in it. That's like, oh yeah, like I blew a wheel bearing out on my truck one of the first years that I started, and it's like I knew it was a wheel bearing, so it
Yeah.
was like, oh, I can repair it. So it was like 11 o'clock at night. I'm tearing apart my whole entire front end of the truck.
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it took me longer than what it would have been to take it to a mechanic, but
You saved
you
thousands of
saved a
dollars.
lot of
Yeah,
money.
labor
Like,
cost for a mechanic is
oh
very
yeah, yeah,
expensive.
yeah. Which hey, they honestly though,
Good.
I give a lot of credit to those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Their heavy parts and stuff. That's one thing. Like the trades, I give credit to everybody that are in the trades.
Hmm.
So,
Stuff we could not do at all.
Yeah. No. No.
So
but
you talk about earlier a little bit about how you're self-taught and you have learned a lot over time. How did you go, I guess, transition from just cutting grass to eventually officially starting your own business and be like get employees and start that whole
well,
process?
the best I really didn't have any intentions of starting a business whenever I was in high school.
Mhm.
I it was always on the back burners, the best way to put it. Like, yeah, one day I'll start a business up. I went to college for business. I went out to St. Vincent for a little bit,
Oh,
and
St. Vincent.
yeah,
Expensive.
yeah. I went out to St. Vincent and Latrobe, and I was like, I started off with business. I can't remember what it was, what type of business I went into, but I remember sitting in the first class of the semester, and the guy said, by a show of hands, who wants to run a business or operate a business when they're done schooling? And I raised my hand because, like I said, it was always on the back burner.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And the guy looked at me and he said, this isn't going to teach you how to run a business. You're wasting your time. And I was like, hmm. Okay.
Well, yeah, at least it was
Well,
honest.
he was honest with me, and I,
You see, though, you go to business school, they're
yeah,
like, this won't help you.
yeah. I mean, in the best way that he put it to me, I talked to him after class one day. He was like, yeah, he's like, this is gonna teach you how to the fundamentals of a business, and I was like, okay, I can kind of see where you're coming from on it's not gonna teach you how to run a business, but at that point, it kind of was like discouraging. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, what's the point of being here then if
Hmm.
they're not going to teach me how to run a business?
Yeah, what you're wanting
So,
to go for.
yeah, I remember it was a lot of phone calls with my parents and stuff saying, hey, I'm done with school. It was like literally the first week I said, I'm done with school. I'm not coming back here. I'm
Yeah.
dropping out. I finished out the semester at school and I quit. I dropped out of college and then I went into the trades and stuff. And like I said, I still had no intentions of starting a business. So I went to CDL school and excavation school. It was a great opportunity. You learned a ton of stuff going through trade school. I mean, it's all hands-on learning. If you do want to, if you're a hands-on learner, definitely go to trade school.
Hmm.
You'll learn so much and it will be easier for you to understand. But it was in November. We were coming towards the end. It was November in 2020, and we were coming towards the end, and we were applying to places. It was during COVID, and everyone knows the COVID time. There was no
Yeah.
jobs out there,
Yeah.
and actually, the only place that hired me on was PennDOT, and it was a seasonal driver in the winter months.
Yeah.
So I went there and I started plowing snow for them, which it was a long winter. That first winter I was there, it was a great season. I loved it and everything. Well, it came down to the point like, hey, we're laying you guys off in second week of April, and there was no opportunity for me to get full time. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I started calling around again. Hey, is there any job openings and stuff? No, there wasn't any job openings. And then I went in and was like, you know what? We're starting this business off. We're gonna just go by on a whim. Hopefully everything works and stuff. Uh, and like I said, it helped out that I did the excavation and stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of did the lawn care a little bit, so I went out and I got my LLC and all my insurance stuff all set up. So I kind of fell right into it. I went out and started off on a couple jobs. I was building up a little bit, got picked up some more equipment, and I first piece of equipment I bought, whenever I started my business was a dump trailer, which that was a big eye opener to me. Like it was like, hey, you can do a lot more with it, and
Yeah.
it just started like a snowball effect. Once you
Yeah.
got into more equipment, you got more jobs, and you got more jobs. You had to pick up a few more guys to help you out,
Yeah.
and it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. And that's kind of where I got to the point now. Is like if I didn't take that first initial step and be like, hey, you know what, I can't find anywhere to work. I'm just gonna open this up and hopefully it works. It worked out in the long run for me, and it was just like it was a good snowball effect, and it took off really well for me.
Hey,
So,
man, man. What's the downfall? You have work anyway, so might as well
yeah,
start a business. If boys not hire
exactly,
people, hire myself.
Yeah,
exactly.
most of the guests we've had on have had a similar experience where like they couldn't find work or they did get into work and they realized they hated it. So they're like, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
start my own thing.
I mean, and that's like I said, you have a lot of headaches and stuff. You got to figure a lot of stuff out on your own. And I mean, whenever I first started off, a lot of people, loans were the biggest thing, is what I couldn't do because I was young. I was 21 whenever I started everything off.
Mhm.
And I remember it's like, I had a GMC 1500 pickup truck that I was doing all my work out of. I was like, oh, this thing's small for what I need.
Mhm.
And I remember I went to the banks and I was like, hey, can I get a loan for a piece of equipment or a truck and stuff? And they were like, well, what are you looking at? Why do you need to buy a truck and everything? I was like, well, I do this business. And they honestly looked at me and they were like, you're young. You're
Yeah.
you're, you're real young to do this. I don't think it's gonna work. The only bank that really helped out was they were real respectful and they were like, hey, if you say you're gonna do it and you're gonna push yourself, we'll give you the opportunity. And thankfully they did, and I was able to just take off and run with it, and it
Mhm.
helped me out a lot. And I'm getting to the point now, it's like getting more trucks and stuff and more equipment
Yeah.
to expand more. So
Well, in my opinion, I don't see the difference between someone young coming in and asking for a small business loan or equipment loan or whatever it is versus taking a huge loan out to go to a 4-year college.
Well, and that was a big thing. It was actually funny you say that. I one of my last papers whenever I was in college, it was a final that we had to do. We had to type up a paper, and it was like, do you think college so far has been good for you and like stuff? It was like, is it worth the investment that you made into it? And like I said, I had no intentions of coming back after the Christmas break when we went. And I wrote a paper saying, no, it
Yeah.
was not a good investment
Yeah.
for me. And the lady, she said, okay, well, I gave her the paper and she said, can I ask why you don't think this? And she's like, can you write another paper on why you don't want to do this?
Another paper.
I'm like, oh, great, another paper, right? On stuff. So I wrote one on about the dying trades that are in this area, like how people aren't in the trades really anymore, and how we need to kind of promote them to bring them back and push them to go to trade school. Like you go to a lot of these high schools anymore, you don't see the shop classes as what they used to have and stuff. That was one of the big things. It was like I didn't think it was worth the investment because I took an like granted, like I said, you take an opportunity, you invest all this money, you come out and you're like, oh boy, what if I can't find a job? The trades, I know you I would say there's a better chance of getting a job in the trades anymore because
Yeah.
there's hardly anyone that does it than what there is going to 4-year school.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to downgrade on people at all or
I
anything
mean, I
like
wouldn't
that.
consider school an investment at all. I
Yeah.
think that's an equal risk as to
Mhm.
taking out a business loan, in my
Yeah.
opinion, because
Yeah.
there's no guarantee you're ever going to get a job with that
Mhm.
degree.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. Like you're taking a risk no matter what in life. Hey, you could go to school and you take a risk coming out. Hopefully I get a job in what I need to do, or you take that business loan. Hey, hopefully this works out
Yeah.
on what I need to do. But yeah, it's you take a lot of risks your first year and starting a lot of stuff on. So
So, what would you say is a good way? So, what would be your ideal plan to get more trait people into trait and things like that? Maybe give them a more like realization of apples to oranges with the with school and
um
going to trait and stuff.
So I would say honestly, whenever you're coming to the point on like if you're debating on going to school or going into the trades, think of the type of learner that you actually are. Like, are you a hands-on learner or are you a book learner? Like my older brother, he's a pharmacist and he's a book learner through and through. I mean, and he'll even admit to you like we are completely different. He nothing against him, but like he's like, I don't know how to do this, and it's like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I can do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then whenever it comes down to the other stuff, he's like, oh, I know how to do it, but I was like, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So, but it's all off of the way that you can learn. Like if you're more of an hands-on learner, I would say probably go into the trade industry, you know. And there's so many things out there anymore, and there's great opportunities that you could get into. The only downfall is there's a lot of certification stuff. Like my dad, whenever he started off, he went to school for plumbing, and he was another guy that was all self-taught basically, other than he went to school for plumbing. He knew how to do all the soldering and stuff like that. That's what his trade school was.
Yeah.
But he works as an HVAC contractor now, and he bids out jobs. He taught himself how to bid. He taught himself on how to build ductwork, fabrication, and stuff. Like he was all self-taught. There's opportunities out there now that you don't have to be necessarily self-taught. There's people out there that want to teach you how to do it because they're, like I said, it's a dying industry that they want you to come into and have the opportunity. Hey, we're set to do this. Look at what kind of learner you are
Mhm.
before you would go and do like if you nothing like you could be a book learner and you could still go to the trades and stuff. But if you have like you have to have a passion for it too.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna be putting in long days. Like you could be away from your house or stuff. Like in the summer, I start anywhere from 4:30 in the morning and go until sometimes 9, 10 o'clock at night or even longer. And you put in the long days, you're gonna have to be prepared to put in long days and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if you want to put yourself through it, yeah, go for it. But like, not saying everybody you're always going to be part of that, but
Mhm.
you have a chance that you might be in longer days. Um, but and if you're not feeling like working long days, it's you got to really have a lot of thought into if you want to go into it. Is
Yeah.
the best way to go.
Yeah, I want to ask why do you think people aren't as interested in the trades? Do you think it's because it seems like it's more work, or because it appears to be long hours?
Um,
Or do you think they're pushing college
I
too much?
think a lot of people are pushing college anymore, which like I said, there's nothing wrong with pushing colleges and stuff. I just personally think that people come here and if they think, hey, if you don't go into college, you're not going to have anything afterwards. It's like, no, there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go to the military, you could go straight into the workforce, you could go. There's so many chances that you could take and go into stuff a lot further. I mean, so that's one thing that I look at is like you got kind of come up with a plan and start thinking of it before you want to go and do it. Like I've had some guys work for me that are like, "Hey, we want to do the landscaping and stuff." And they last maybe 3 weeks, and it's like, no, this.
That's Nicholas.
That was me.
It's like, oh yeah, this isn't for us. Which I have nothing against it.
Yeah.
At least
Against
you
it.
tried it, you
Yeah,
know.
you tried it, and you're honest with me, and it's like, I know it's a lot of work. It's
Yeah.
bad, like you're putting your body through a lot, but like I said, you have to have a passion for it.
Mhm.
Is the best way to put it.
So for me, what I think it is too is, especially in this area, maybe since Johnstown has that negative perception by a lot of people around here. They think if they get into trade that they're stuck here in Johnstown, and if they go to college, they can get a job wherever, which isn't exactly 100% true.
Hmm.
I mean, my stepdad was an electrician, and he worked in Austin, Texas. He worked in Orlando, Florida. There's a lot of trades out there. I mean, well, maybe it won't be your own business, but if you're going to college, you probably won't be working your own business for a while anyway. So
Hmm.
I think that's maybe a perception that people have that if they go to college, it's just a more advanced opportunities to get out of Johnstown and
Yeah,
to a bigger city, but that's
you
not
could, and
100% true.
no, I mean honestly, like for me, a lot of people say, "Oh, is your business Johnstown based?" And yes and no. Like we'll travel to Somerset, we'll go to Evansburg, we've gone to Indiana, Bedford already for jobs and stuff. It's like, yeah, you're not dedicated to this area and like the landscaping side too, but like if you get into other sides of the trades and stuff, you can go a lot further.
Hmm.
Uh like you could get into the union side, like the operators union for heavy equipment. You could be traveling out west, you could be going up north, down
Yeah.
south.
Mhm.
There's a lot of travel that you could do. And some people like to travel, but sometimes a lot of people are like, I would say the travel side is a lot more for the
Yeah.
younger generation compared to the older because once you start having kids and stuff, oh, we don't want to travel, we want to be home.
Hmm.
Yeah, which that's I agree with you. You don't want to miss out on a lot of stuff, but a lot of
Yeah.
these guys they miss out on it just chasing what they're doing in the industry. But yeah, there is a lot of opportunities though to get out of this area if you want to get into it all. And
Hmm.
so,
Yeah. And there's always places, like you said, people looking for trade workers
mhm,
and stuff. So
yeah.
you even like move out west, I'm sure you're gonna find a lot of jobs and of pipe work and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah. And I like I said, there's a lot of pipe work is around here and stuff whenever you get into the excavation side because there's constantly everybody says, "Oh, there's always road and construction work around here." Yeah, there is, but it's all for a reason.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Have a lawn mowing and
mhm,
whatever. What is your ideal, if once you get your house, what is
mhm.
your ideal lawn and everything go look
Ideal
like?
lawn.
Front yard and all. The
I
works.
That's a good
yeah.
question.
Oh man, there's so much. I read like honestly, whenever I'm bored, I'll go and design stuff. Like I can go and
Yeah.
I'll just sit there and I'll start drawing out like garden beds and putting on patios
Are
and
you a
stuff.
rock guy, mulch guy?
I it all depends. I mean, I'm more of one of the guys that hey, I like mulch, like and you can put in like your accents with the rocks. Like say you put boulders into houses and stuff.
Hmm.
You break up the plant effect and stuff. Like I like key features. Like if you have a corner of a house, you design out a garden bed. You want like the corners of the house, you don't want them to be exposed or you don't want to have just sharp edges is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You maybe want to put something there to break it up. Like you put
Hmm.
a tree or like say an evergreen tree or a Japanese maple or
Hmm.
something in the corner of the house and it kind of that's a focal point. Like that's best way that I would put it is I'd probably have some plants, some boulders with a nice edging, a
Yeah.
mulch, nice patio in the back,
Yeah.
pergola, fire pit area.
Hmm.
Everybody likes to have fires in the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like have a nice dugout area, flat level area with a nice patio.
Yeah.
That way you could come in and set like a fire pit up. And the nice thing, like big thing in the landscaping industry anymore is there is so much you can do. I
Yeah.
mean, you can put outdoor living areas into people like in backyards anymore.
Yeah.
It's like you have a kitchen and a living room
Yeah.
basically in your backyard. Like there is so much that you could do in the landscaping industry that
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
Hmm.
Like you go to these uh like I was down at a few showrooms for landscaping. They have like, hey, we have a grill that you could come in and set inside brick and everything, and
Oh
have an
wow.
outdoor grill, and doesn't look like your average charcoal grill just sitting on
Yeah.
the back patio. You have it all encased and everything. You can have, but like I said, you can have a full kitchen in your
Yeah.
backyard anymore, which is nice, and a
Maybe
lot of
not
people like it.
Johnstown. It'd be kind of hard
I
to
mean, I've seen
do
it.
in the
Oh yeah,
winter
you'd be
time.
surprised. There's a lot of stuff
6 feet of snow, just some dude like, I
in.
built this. I'm using
Exactly.
it.
See, that's the downfall in this area, though. Like landscaping, you only have a certain amount of months that you can use your outdoor, like especially here. We have running joke is at the state, hey, it could snow in July, which I'm not saying it has before and it hasn't, but there's an opportunity. You could have cold days
You
and
never
stuff, and you
know.
never could be sitting outside and
Wouldn't be
going.
surprised.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised.
That
Exactly.
just saying that alone is
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, there's so much you could do. Like you could have outside furniture. Like I said, you could pretty much have your whole entire inside of your house outside
Yeah.
anymore and have it all built outside and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah.
So
I think it'd be funny. Like you'll give somebody like a job for the house. Like, ooh, whose house is my house?
yeah,
Yeah, you guys are working on my
yeah,
house, so make it
exactly.
nice.
Yeah, but that's a future goal, like to have an outdoor living area.
Are you gonna cut the grass like baseball fields and have
Oh
like a
yeah.
different color?
Hey, I already tried to do that. I like to put the patterns and design.
That seems hard, man. I
Yeah.
don't know how those people do
Well,
that.
it's actually funny you say that. My younger brother, he's going to school at Penn State for turf grass science, and he's learning on how.
Earth grass side.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's learning on how to do all that stuff. I mean, and it's like he'll tell me, hey, I'm the guy that's running the business here, and he's like, hey, we could do this and put designs into stuff. I'm like, and we're not doing that. I said, I don't think it's gonna fly in this area. But
That's that.
yeah,
That's a niche
yeah,
niche
yeah,
employment right there.
exactly.
So, what are some of your favorite plants and favorite? Because like you were naming some plants earlier, the Japanese, whatever.
Yeah, Japanese maples. Honestly, so tree wise, I really like the Japanese maples
Hmm.
because one, they kind they're not a real tall growing tree. It all depends. You could get dwarf sized plants, you could get mature like full size grown. I like the dwarf size Japanese maples because they just add like a nice accent and
Hmm.
they turn out to be like an umbrella effect and stuff. I like hydrangeas because they just mound up and they get the big beautiful flowers on them. And what's some other plants? It's been a little bit. We're kind of getting right back in, and
Yeah, see, I'm helping
yeah,
refresh the
yeah,
plants
you're
a little
helping me
bit.
exactly. I've been out of it for a little bit.
That's what I was gonna tell you. Like, what do people do during the off season? Not be so
Yeah.
rusty when they get
Hey,
back
a lot of
into
people they study up though. I mean, some people they might look into like going to school for the plants and stuff, and that way they could study up and be
it.
like, hey, this might grow here better in this area. And
Yeah.
that goes back to the soils again. Like you look at your soils and whenever you come to planting and stuff, you want to make sure, hey, this area is a wet low area. You might want to put this plant into this area because it
Hmm.
will absorb more moisture. Or you put something into like a drier climate and it's like, yeah, we can make something happen here.
Yeah.
Like the best way that I like to put it is I try to design stuff in garden beds that stuff blooms at different times of the year.
Hmm.
So, like right now, you have your daffodils and stuff blooming, and
Yeah.
like, okay, they will be done come May, and You want something else that's going to flower. You have to figure out the growing seasons on all these. That's one thing that you could do in the winter months for a landscaping business is just study into all the
Yeah.
stuff on trying to see when stuff grows,
Hmm.
when stuff blooms, where it's the best place to put these plants, what's the best for, hot climates or, you have colder climates and stuff. That you have to go off the climates of the areas too on
Hmm.
what's gonna grow, how's it gonna grow, and you gotta look at maturity sizes on distancing from other shrubs and plants to lay out garden beds.
Yeah.
And that whenever you lay out garden beds, it's like, you could some people are like, we'll just throw this here, we'll just throw
Yeah.
this here. It's like you got to look at your distances on growing
Yeah.
patterns. And
Mhm.
yeah, you could have a lot of clutter is the
Yeah.
best way to put it. Like the best way to put it, I ask people, do you want to keep it simple or do you want to keep like
Yeah.
go extravagant? And a lot of people anymore, it's just like, let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
And then the maintenance is a big thing that I would say. You have to keep up with the maintenance on all your landscaping. If you don't, you'll just have a jungle.
Yeah.
So like, how do I want to put it? Like in the spring, you got your average cleanups, you got all your average prepping and stuff. But like your best thing to do is in the fall, make sure you trim everything back. That way you don't have that junk effect come,
Yeah.
this time of the year. It's like, oh, it's growing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
gonna
Just
cut
let it
stuff.
loose.
Yeah, let it stuff. But yeah, you can do a lot of studying up on the maintenance
Mhm.
and stuff on how everything goes in the winter months.
So I got a couple more questions, and you can ask
You
the
have a
rest.
couple more?
Just two. Now, literally just mean two. All
Okay.
right, and they're like kind of quick ones, kind of little goofy ones, so it's not like long.
Okay.
So one, will they ever have a better advancement tool of getting mulch and rocks to certain areas that isn't a wheelbarrow? Because those kind of suck. And then two, what do you do with leaves during the fall? Because we see people burn them, and you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
I could
We
argue
got
with
told to like leave it and let it kind of get in there with the dirt.
So mulch wise and getting material stuff, I'm trying to think of where it is.
I just hope eventually that's not just a wheelbarrow, because wheelbarrows
No,
suck.
there is so much stuff that you can get anymore. There's a big expo down in Kentucky, I think Louisville,
Yeah.
every year. It's usually right in the end of October, beginning of November.
Hmm.
Um, it's a landscaping expo. All these equipment places. I'm trying to think of how the word I want to use for it, but they come up with inventions, and you can go down there and see these inventions and be like, hey, this is what you could use, and it'll make your job a lot easier. Like big thing is whenever you look at big apartment complexes
Yeah.
in the cities and stuff, a lot of the jobs aren't wheelbarrow. Like
Yeah.
around here, everybody basically wheelbarrows mulch and stuff.
Yeah.
But like when you're doing, say, you have 1,000+ yards of mulch you have to put down in
Yeah.
X amount of time.
And like different levels.
Yeah, at different levels. They make it's called a mulch blower.
Oh.
Um, you basically load mulch into this hopper, and it has a big long tube, and you could shoot the mulch into the garden beds, and it spreads the mulch for you. You could be in and out of job in a matter of no time.
Yeah.
Oh
Compared to
wow.
like if you were wheelbarrowing it,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're gonna be here all day doing this.
Multiple days.
Yeah, multiple
Sometimes.
days doing this. But there's a lot of new products coming out
Mhm.
to the industry on trying to make it easier on the landscapers. But that falls back to you have to start up small,
Yeah.
working real hard.
Eventually
Yeah,
get there.
eventually. But like around here, I don't see any of that
Coming.
coming here. A big thing that is in this area now is hydro seeding. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's basically a it's a mixture of like grass seed and another product I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But you mix it with water and
Okay.
you shoot it out. Say a lot of houses anymore. There's always houses being built in this area.
Yeah.
Instead of going out and just throwing your grass seed down and then throwing straw over top, you could come in and they drive a truck around and it has a hose on the back and there's a guy shooting all the grass seed down. Like whenever they did the roundabout up here in Geistown, that was all hydro seeded. And
Mhm.
it could have, like, say if they would have just done it all by hand, it could have taken them 2 days, 3 days. They were done in and out of there within like an hour of
Yeah.
hydro seeding everything. Like there's a lot of new stuff that's out in the landscaping world to
Yeah.
make your jobs a lot easier. Rock wise, I don't think there's ever gonna be an easy way to do rocks, but we like doing rocks. That's the
Yeah.
shoveling.
So I know you're a man.
Yeah.
That's where you get your grit.
Yeah, I mean, the one kid that works for me, he loves his favorite thing is he asked me, "Are we shoveling today?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're shoveling." He gets all excited because we're shoveling.
That was hot
He's
news.
something else, but he's one of the best workers ever.
I
So
remember one time I was in landscaping for a minute, and they were trying to shovel a lot of dirt out of this one area, and that was
Mhm.
not fun.
Yeah.
I was
Uh,
done with dirt after that. I was like,
honestly, though, that's what I love about it. I
yeah, you gotta
mean,
get those crazy people.
yeah.
I love that kind of stuff.
Oh, but the best thing about the landscaping is for me, I like how it's a different job every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not married to like one thing and it's just like you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. You're out and about doing a different job every single day.
Yeah.
You're at a different area. Like we could be working at your house and then go a couple houses down. It's a completely different layout. And that's another thing you want to look at is a lot of people whenever they ask us for landscaping stuff, it's like, hey, we want our house to look like that house. Well, you don't want your house to look like that house because you want it to be unique to what you have.
Yeah.
We can use the same plants, but we'll have different layout. And that's one of the nice things about it. Like you can switch so much stuff up but use the same stuff.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
and
and
this
then
one.
and then the leaves. How do you? What's
Leaves.
your best advice for leaves?
Oh, but I'm one of those guys that I like to get all the leaves out of the yard. Whenever you have a clean yard in the fall, that just looks so much better to me.
Yeah.
Lot like what we'll do is we'll push all the leaves down to the end of the road or to the side of the road, haul them out, get them all out of there for people. They make a vacuum system now
Okay.
where it's like a big truck, like you can put it on the back of a say a dump truck and
Mhm.
shoot it into the bed of the dump truck or into a trailer, and that's one of the best ways to do. Raking, yeah, you'll get all the leaves out of the dirt and stuff.
Yeah.
But we take the backpack blowers, we'll push everything out
I
to
got
the end of the road, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just an easier cleanup than overall. So.
Really needed that a few months ago.
Yeah. Leaves are not fun.
So my final question, backpedaling a little bit, what advice would you give your younger self or someone who is 18, 19, 21 years old about the trades or advice for college and how to kind of navigate that and make those big decisions?
If you want to get into the landscaping side, you gotta well, we'll start off with if you want to get into the landscaping side. And for information for my younger self, I would have said started it a lot sooner than I actually did.
In
Uh,
high school?
well, believe it or not, if you like look in other areas, there's kids out there. I say kids, but there's guys out there that are starting at 17 years old.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Billionaires, but
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Though I mean, if you look into it, there's a lot of people out there that are doing excellent for themselves that are like starting off real young. Um, if you like I said, if you know you have a passion to get into the landscaping side, start it off as young as you can. Start
Yeah.
accumulating equipment. Yeah, it may not be the best equipment, but start doing the work and get that clientele base set in stone. And then once you officially say like you're done with high school and you're like, yeah, I just want to stick to this, you're set up already. You're
Yeah.
not out there scrambling for the jobs. You're not out there like, oh, am I gonna be able to make this? Am I gonna
Mhm.
be able to do this? You just start off in the grass. That's the best way to do it. And then the other stuff will come in, like I said about the snowball effect. It will just start coming along because you could be cutting grass, and next thing you know, the homeowner will be like, "Hey, can you do mulch too?" Yeah, we'll do mulch. And then it's like you start off small, but definitely start it off early enough.
Mhm.
For the trade wise, like I said, you have to really sit back and think like, do I want to do this? Do I really want to get in? I don't want to say invest money into it, but invest your actual time into it
Yeah.
because it takes a lot to get into it. Like you you might not know a single thing like electricians. I give credit to electricians. The only thing I know about electrical, it can kill you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you know,
very easily.
that's one thing. Like there's different things. Like there's voltages and stuff. Like you gotta pick one thing that you want to focus on and just go with it.
Mhm.
Don't try to say, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this." Um, just pick one main focus point. And what was the other part of the question?
Just kind of any advice that you would give like younger people kind of navigating, because you, to me it sounds like that professor kind of turned you off from college and you were like, I could do this myself.
Yeah, and what she did. Now, the one thing that I wish I would have stuck to doing was the marketing side.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like a lot of my work comes word of mouth, but like if you know how to market your business, you'll do excellent.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so if you're looking at starting a business, that's another one thing I would say. Look into marketing.
Mhm.
Teach yourself how to do it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
be able to pursue in that. And you said like advice to people. I'm not even sure.
That's okay.
Hey, so
I got to think on that
We're
one
still
for a second.
figuring it out as we go.
you couldn't give advice to people for this.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing with marketing is too is it's always changing. The people that were in marketing, graphic design, business, all that 20 years ago, how much of that is relevant today?
I mean, graphic design is a lot of there's a lot of stuff into it now. Marketing wise, you kind of want the best way to do it, I would say, is have pictures of the product that you use.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
That
mean,
that is the most important
yeah,
thing, because when I see landscaping, home renovation,
yeah,
hairstylists, nail art artists, whatever it is, if
mhm,
I don't see pictures of your work, I don't know that you're any good.
exactly. And that's if you don't have the pictures, the backup, what you're saying is, your people are kind of just like, should we believe this or
Yeah.
Yeah.
should we not? Have pictures, have like kind of documentation on a lot of that stuff for the marketing side is because that will help you out so much. You could say, "Oh yeah, we went and did X amount of dollar job out there," and but you have no pictures to prove it. Like you
Mhm.
kind of want that. Like my thing is, I'll take pictures of stuff even whenever I'm like just starting off, halfway through, going further in, and then the completion. That way, if somebody says, "Well, how did you do this?" Like, for instance, like a retaining wall, like, "Well, how did you excavate this out? This is the way that we want it excavated." And then you have pictures of saying, "This is like a job that we just did,
Mhm.
and this is how far back we excavated it, how far the base that we put in, what kind of base material we use." And then, like I said, it helps you sell your jobs a lot better. So
Do you do any TikToks of like your process?
I don't, not yet.
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorite videos, or like renovations or projects or
Uh-huh.
anything like that. Love watching.
Oh yeah.
And
Eventually, I'll get there. I actually, like you guys, I
Be a
kind of,
social media person.
yeah.
I know one.
I actually want to get into the YouTube side of
yeah,
it and
Yeah.
like showing the day in the life of like a landscaping
you
industry.
could definitely do that.
And I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that do it already, but like the best way to put it is you're in different areas. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know how the landscaping goes in this area. Like you have a lot of seasonal stuff in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, is this gonna work or no? It's like not like if you do a day in the life, like I think people would appreciate the
Mhm.
work that you do a lot more. And that's one reason I kind of want to get into the YouTube side of it. That's like, yeah, I think one, it would be fun, having somebody film you while you're doing all the work. But then you're put on the spot. It's like, oh man, I messed this up. Like you were saying earlier, oh, I got messed up, and it's like, oh man, we gotta figure this out.
This was a test run.
Yeah,
This was a test run.
exactly.
Makes mistakes.
But yeah, but like, no, I think that would be a lot of fun. That like social media anymore is a big help, but and it's also all off of the area that you go
Yeah.
for on the marketing side. Like
Yeah.
word of mouth in this area is the number one thing.
For
Mhm.
sure.
But like Facebook, yeah, it helps out. I make a few Facebook posts here every once in a while, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you get a few jobs on it, but like having your name on the side of equipment and stuff, that's another big thing.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
more you see that piece of equipment or going out and driving around, you'll gather more jobs.
See, I think YouTube route and the social media route could be very positive too. One, because I caught myself watching those videos of, like the dudes that like do like random lawn work and like it's 5 times speed, but you see them like cutting stuff
Mhm.
up with the lawnmower out there.
It's satisfying.
Yeah, it's satisfying.
Yeah.
Two, you can also like maybe eventually there will be like these lawnmower expo, people reaching out to you, giving you like
Yeah.
things for like, hey, just use this and
Mhm.
whatever, you can have it, just show it off.
Yeah.
And then also, were you one of those people? I was one of them. I know how old you are, but growing up on Facebook, I remember staying up at 2 a.m. and watching those South American people like build pools from clay
yeah.
and mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's another, like I said, you don't know. Say, even if you're using YouTube, say, like you were asking about the leaves.
Yeah.
We could be out here doing a day in the life of a landscaper, and we could be cleaning up leaves. Like,
Yeah.
huh, the way he's doing it is a heck of a lot better than the way that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go off of that.
Yeah.
So it could be a learning experience too.
And the rocks be like how to put in a fence dealing with Western Pennsylvania
Mhm. Yeah.
groundwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, there's a lot that you could do. I mean, with
Untapped
everything.
potential.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's good enough. You mean,
End it if you want to give any shout outs
shout out.
and obviously plug your business and how to
Mm.
contact you, all that good stuff.
Well, if you want to contact me, the best way is you could go on Facebook or Google Yost Outdoor Services on Google. My number will pop up, and then we have a few pictures of some jobs that we have done over the past couple years and stuff to look at. Facebook also, I have a few more pictures on there from jobs I've done last year, past years, and stuff. So if you want anything done outside, please get in touch with me. And if I can't do it, I'll help you find somebody that will do it. I really will. So, and I'm one of those guys that I'll give you my best advice as I can
Yeah.
to do something, and we'll go from there then. So, but don't never hesitate to call me. I'm always happy to talk to people and try to help them out as much as I can. So,
And do you give them kind of estimates of what they want to do so they kind of have an idea?
yeah, like for instance, it would be like, what do you?
So like I know like so let's just say hey I want my lawn work and my hedges trimmed
Mhm.
and it's 300 square feet whatever.
I So that's another thing. Like, one of the big thing for starting off on a business, I would say, is you kind of want to go and look at the jobs no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
you could be like, hey, like for instance, like, hey, we have a rock pile that it's a couple wheelbarrow fulls, and well, next thing you show up to the house, it's like we want this hauled out. There's 3 ton on the ground. That's not a couple wheelbarrow fulls. You know what I mean? It's like
Whoa,
yeah,
pounds.
it's like you always go and look at what you're gonna do first
Mm.
before just going and doing it. And then, like, I'm always one of those people. I will make time to go and look at a job
Yeah.
before I would even go and do it, and always have like a good connection or contact with the homeowner. Always be like, hey, listen, we're gonna be leaving here to go to lunch or something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just go and leave. I mean, it's nice that the homeowner's like, oh, did they just disappear or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Are they
Yeah.
done? Like
Yeah.
just looking?
Yeah, just always be in touch with the homeowners and
Yeah.
stuff on that. So, but estimating wise, like I'm one of those guys. I'd rather come and see it in person.
Yeah.
Even if it's like something that I can't do, like for instance, hey, we have a gas. Like I didn't get into the gas line stuff yet, but like, hey, we have a gas line and it's coming out or something, or
Mhm.
it's leaking. That's like, I'll come and look at it and see where it's at, and
Yeah.
like, hey, I'll give you advice. Even,
Yeah.
I mean, I might not be doing the job, but I'll give you advice on who to use or something
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, I would always go and look at everything
Mhm.
for no matter what. So
Well,
All right.
yeah,
thank you again for coming
no
on.
problem. Thank
All right,
you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
So,
All right, and this is Jenny. I'm Nick. Thank you for tuning into the Small Town Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed and have a good day.
thank you.